My name is Vex-Nine-One-Seven, and I was there when everything went to hell. You want to know about the humans? Oh, where do I even begin with those magnificent, terrifying, absolutely insane primates? I suppose I should start at the beginning, back when we thought we knew everything about warfare, conquest, and the natural order of the galaxy. Spoiler alert, we knew nothing. The Korthak Overlords had ruled for 3,000 years. 3,000
years.
Let that sink in for a moment. We had conquered 47 star systems, subjugated 93 different species, and built an empire so vast that it took light itself 2 months to travel from one end to the other. We were the apex predators of space, the ultimate evolutionary success story. And then we met Earth. I remember the day our scouts first reported back about this little blue-green marble, orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Commander Thex 442 was practically drooling with anticipation. Another primitive world, he said, his mandibles clicking with amusement, probably still throwing rocks at each other. Oh, Thex. Poor stupid Thex. If only you could see what those rock throwers did to your flagship. The initial reports were, they were hilarious, frankly. These humans were fighting wars with projectile weapons. Projectile weapons. Can you believe it? While we were manipulating gravity and bending space-time to our will, these creatures were still pointing metal tubes at each other and hoping the little pieces of lead would fly in the right direction. This will be over in a standard day cycle, announced Supreme Overlord Zix Prime during our war council. The assembled generals chittered their agreement.
Why wouldn't they?
We had plasma cannons that could melt continents. We had ships the size of small moons. We had conquered species that could breathe fire, others that could phase through matter, and one particularly annoying race that could literally explode and regenerate. But humans just had stubbornness. The invasion began exactly as planned. Our advance fleet, consisting of 12 dreadnoughts and 40 support vessels, dropped out of hyperspace just beyond Earth's moon. The plan was simple: demonstrate our overwhelming superiority, demand immediate surrender, and add another species to our collection of servants. Captain Maya Singh was the first human to respond to our transmission. Unknown vessels, her voice crackled over the communication array. This is Captain Singh of the Earth Defense Coalition. You are in violation of Earth space. State your intentions immediately. Supreme Overlord Zix Prime laughed so hard his exoskeleton rattled. Violation of Earth space? Oh, this is rich. Tell the primitive that she's speaking to the Korthak Overlords, masters of the galaxy. I transmitted the message, adding all the appropriate intimidation protocols and psychic pressure waves that had worked on every other species we'd encountered. There was a pause. Then Captain Singh's voice came back, and I swear I could hear her rolling her eyes through the radio static. Korthak Overlords? Seriously? Did you guys have a committee meeting to come up with that name? Or did someone just throw a bunch of scary-sounding syllables together? The bridge fell silent. In 3,000 years of conquest, no one had ever mocked our name. No one. Furthermore, Singh continued, I don't care if you're the masters of the entire universe. You're not welcome here. Turn around and leave, or we'll make you leave. More silence. Then Zix Prime's voice, dangerously quiet. What did she just say? I believe, sir, I replied carefully, that she just threatened us. Threatened us? Zix Prime's voice rose to a shriek. Threatened us? A species that hasn't even achieved faster than light travel is threatening the Korthak Overlords? This was the moment everything should have ended. One demonstration of our power, maybe vaporizing their moon or something equally dramatic, and they would have surrendered. That's how it always worked. That's how it was supposed to work. Instead, Captain Singh cut the transmission. Just hung up on us. I'm not sure Supreme Overlord Zix Prime had ever been hung up on before. His mandibles began opening and closing rapidly, which is what our species does when we're either about to mate or about to commit genocide. Given the circumstances, I was pretty sure it wasn't mating. Target their largest city, he commanded. Full power planetary bombardment. Let's see how brave they are when half their world is burning. This should have been the end of humanity. Our planetary bombardment cannons could crack tectonic plates. They could turn mountain ranges into glass. They could boil oceans. The plasma beam lanced down toward Earth's surface, aimed directly at a massive urban center the humans called New York City. I watched the energy reading spike as enough power to level a continent focused into a beam of pure destruction. And then something impossible happened. The beam stopped. Not deflected, not absorbed. It just stopped, hanging in the air like a frozen lightning bolt, crackling with frustrated energy. "What is happening?" Zix Prime demanded. "Unknown, sir. The beam appears to be suspended in some kind of energy field." "Energy field?" "These primitives don't have energy field technology." That's when we saw them, rising from the surface of Earth like angry wasps from a disturbed nest. Ships, hundreds of them. They were tiny compared to our dreadnoughts, sleek and silver, and they moved with a precision that made our pilots look drunk. "Sir," reported our tactical officer. "Sensors indicate approximately 400 craft approaching." 400? Six Prime laughed again, but there was less confidence in it now. "Our shields can withstand anything these primitives might throw at us. Activate full defensive screens." The human ships opened fire. Now, you have to understand, we were expecting primitive kinetic weapons, maybe some basic chemical explosives. What we got instead were beams of coherent light that punched through our shields like they were made of tissue paper. "Shields are failing," the tactical officer screamed. "How are their weapons penetrating our defenses?" Simple came a new voice over the communication array. Not Captain Singh this time, but someone else. Male, calm, almost bored. "Your shields are designed to stop energy weapons by dispersing the energy across a wide area. Our lasers don't dissipate. They maintain coherence at the quantum level." "Who is this?" Six Prime demanded. "Admiral Jack Torres, Earth Defense Coalition. You gentlemen picked the wrong planet to mess with." "Impossible," Six Prime screeched. "You're a primitive species, you don't have quantum coherence technology." Admiral Torres mused. "You know what? You're absolutely right. We don't have quantum coherence technology. We invented something better. We call it stubborn human engineering. It's like quantum coherence, except it works because we refuse to accept that it shouldn't." 3 of our dreadnoughts exploded in the next 30 seconds. "Retreat," Six Prime ordered. "Full withdrawal." "Oh no, you don't," Admiral Torres said pleasantly. "You came here to demonstrate your overwhelming superiority, remember? Let's see what you've got." That's when the real nightmare began. Because it turned out that humans don't just fight with ships and weapons, they fight with something much worse: logistics. Within minutes of the battle beginning, our sensors detected massive energy signatures emerging from hyperspace, jump gates, dozens of them. And pouring through these gates came the most terrifying sight in the galaxy: a human supply chain. Fuel, ships, ammunition carriers, mobile repair platforms, field hospitals, command and control vessels, communications relays. In the time it took us to lose half our fleet, the humans had established a complete military infrastructure in their own solar system. "How?" I whispered, watching the tactical display fill with human reinforcements. "How are they doing this?" Admiral Torres must have overheard my transmission. "Trade secret, buddy, but I'll give you a hint. We've been preparing for this fight since we first looked up at the stars. We just never knew when you guys would show up." "Preparing for what fight?" Zix Prime demanded. "You didn't even know we existed." "Details," Torres replied cheerfully. "The important thing is that we've been preparing for a fight with someone. Turns out, when you're a species that evolved by hitting each other with rocks for 1,000,000 years, you get really good at hitting things. Whether it's rocks or spears or arrows or bullets or nuclear missiles or coherent light beams, the principle remains the same. Find target, apply violence until target stops being a problem." Another dreadnought exploded. "You're insane," Six Prime screamed. "Thank you," Torres said. "We prefer the term creatively violent. Now, are you going to surrender? Or do we need to continue this demonstration?" "Surrender? The Korthak Overlords do not surrender." "Your choice." What followed was not a battle. It was not a war. It was a master class in applied human stubbornness. Because while we were trying to fight a traditional space engagement, the humans were fighting something completely different. They weren't trying to destroy us quickly or efficiently. They were trying to prove a point. And the point was this: don't mess with humans. Every time we adapted to their tactics, they changed them. When we figured out how to counter their laser arrays, they switched to kinetic projectiles. When we developed countermeasures for their kinetic weapons, they started using something they called nuclear-pumped gamma-ray lasers, which I'm pretty sure they invented during the battle just to annoy us. But the worst part, the absolutely worst part, was that they were clearly enjoying themselves. "Nice try with the plasma barrage," Torres commented after we'd exhausted our primary weapons. "Very colorful. Our kids are going to love the light show, but you might want to work on your targeting systems. You missed New York by about 3,000 kilometers. We were not aiming for New York, Zix Prime protested. Oh, well that's embarrassing. What were you aiming for? Your military installations. Which military installations? There was a long pause, because of course we had no idea where their military installations were. We'd assumed they'd be obvious, like every other species we'd conquered. Big bases. Massive fortifications. Clear targets. Turns out humans had buried their military infrastructure so deep and spread it so wide that their entire planet was essentially one giant fortress. Every city, every town, every farm was connected to their defense network. They had weapons hidden in mountains, factories concealed in forests, and command centers that looked like shopping malls. You turned your entire world into a weapon, I breathed. Weapon? Torres sounded genuinely confused. No, you've got it backwards. We turned our weapons into a world. There's a difference. That makes no sense. Welcome to humanity, pal. Or we specialize in making no sense. It's our competitive advantage. By the end of the first day, we had lost 18 ships and hadn't managed to land a single effective hit on any human target. By the end of the second day, the humans had somehow managed to capture 2 of our vessels intact and were apparently reverse engineering our technology in real time. Sir, reported our intelligence officer, his voice hollow with disbelief, the humans have just transmitted detailed schematics of our hyperspace drive system. What? They're offering to sell us improvements. Improvements? According to their message, they've identified 17 efficiency optimizations and 3 safety upgrades. They're willing to license the technology for what they call a reasonable fee. Zix Prime's mandibles clicked rapidly. They're trying to sell us our own technology? Modified and improved versions. Yes, sir. During a battle? Yes, sir. There was a long moment of silence on the bridge. Finally, Zix Prime spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. What kind of species conducts business during warfare? Humans, apparently. And that's when I realized the truth. The horrible, wonderful, absolutely terrifying truth about humanity. They weren't fighting a war. They were problem-solving. And we were just another problem to be solved. The battle lasted 6 days. By the end of it, the humans had somehow turned the entire engagement into a combination military exercise, technology demonstration, and economic summit. They had destroyed most of our fleet, captured our survivors, reverse engineered our best technology, improved it, and then offered to sell it back to us. Oh, and they had also somehow managed to establish diplomatic contact with 3 other species in our empire, who had apparently been waiting for someone strong enough to help them rebel against Korthak rule. This is impossible, Zix Prime kept muttering, as we prepared to retreat to the outer system. This is completely impossible.
How did they know about our other territories? How did they establish contact with our subject species?
How did they coordinate a multi-system rebellion while fighting a space battle? Admiral Torres answered that question during our final communication. Multitasking, he said simply. It's a human thing. While Admiral Singh was handling the military engagement, Admiral Park was working on intelligence gathering, Admiral Johnson was managing diplomatic outreach, and Admiral Williams was coordinating with the rebellion. Oh, and Admiral Thompson was working on plans for a counter-invasion of your home system. Counter-invasion? Zix Prime squeaked. Well, sure, you guys came here looking for a fight, right? It would be rude not to return the favor. Don't worry, though. We're not unreasonable. We'll give you a week to evacuate non-combatants. You're going to invade our home system. Eventually. We've got a few other systems to liberate first. Your rebellion is spreading faster than we expected. Apparently, news travels fast when you're a despotic overlord. And that's how humanity declared war on the Korthak Empire.
Eee!
Not because we invaded them, not because we threatened them, but because, in their words, someone needed to teach us some manners. Looking back now, I realize we never had a chance. Not because humans were technologically superior, though they certainly were. Not because they were better warriors, though they definitely were that too. We never had a chance because we were fighting a 3,000-year-old empire, and they were fighting for the future of the galaxy. We were trying to maintain the status quo. They were trying to change everything. And humans, as it turns out, are really good at changing things. As our battered fleet limped away from Earth's solar system, I received one final transmission from Admiral Torres.
His voice was different now.
Less cheerful, more serious. Hey, Vex-Nine-One-Seven, he said. Somehow knowing my designation, I know you're probably confused right now. Scared, maybe. And I get that. Change is scary. But here's the thing. The galaxy doesn't have to be the way it's always been. There's room for everyone out here. Korthak, human, everyone else. But it has to be voluntary. No more conquered species. No more enslaved worlds. No more overlords. He paused, and when he spoke again his voice was gentle, almost kind. You don't have to be the bad guys anymore. Think about it. The transmission ended, leaving me alone with my thoughts as we jumped to hyperspace. Behind us, Earth grew small and distant, but somehow I knew we'd be seeing it again soon. After all, humans had made us a promise, and if there's one thing I learned during those 6 days of hell, it's this: humans always keep their promises. Even the scary ones. Especially the scary ones. 3 months later, I was standing in the ruins of what used to be the most powerful military installation in the galaxy, wondering how everything had gone so spectacularly wrong. The Fortress of Eternal Dominion. That's what we called it. 27 levels of impenetrable defenses, built into an asteroid the size of a small planet, protected by a fleet of 500 warships and defended by the finest warriors in the Korthak Empire. It was our Gibraltar, our Maginot Line, our absolutely no way anyone gets past this thing's stronghold. The humans took it on a Tuesday. A Tuesday.
You know how insulting that is?
They didn't even wait for the weekend when they'd have more time to focus. They just casually conquered our greatest fortress between lunch and dinner, like it was an item on their to-do list. Operation Doorbell, they called it. I learned this because I was there. Oh yes, lucky me, I got a front row seat to the second act of humanity's galactic temper tantrum. Supreme Overlord Zix Prime had assigned me as special observer to the fortress, which was his polite way of saying go somewhere far away where I don't have to look at your failure. Apparently, being the only survivor who'd actually spoken to the humans made me either valuable intelligence or a reminder of our humiliation. I'm still not sure which. General Kresh 7 Alpha was in command of the fortress. Big guy, even for a Korthak, had mandibles that could crack starship hull plating, and an ego the size of a gas giant. He'd been looking forward to meeting these legendary humans ever since word of our defeat had spread through the Empire. Let them come, he kept saying, flexing his combat claws. Earth was a fluke, a lucky shot. This time we'll show them what real warfare looks like. Oh, Kresh. Sweet, violent, overconfident Kresh. If only you could have seen your face when the humans showed you what real warfare actually looked like. It started with the singing. Yes, singing. 0600 hours. Standard time, every communication channel in the fortress suddenly filled with human voices raised in harmony.
Oh.
Not war cries, not battle hymns. Show tunes. Good morning. Good morning. We've danced the whole night through, echoed through our corridors, sung by what sounded like a full choir with orchestral accompaniment. General Kresh 7 Alpha's reaction was memorable. What is this? He roared, his voice shaking the command center. Are they mocking us? I don't think so, sir, replied our communications officer, looking thoroughly confused. According to the transmission data, this appears to be something called Singing in the Rain from a human entertainment production dated approximately 200 years ago. Entertainment? They're broadcasting entertainment at us? Yeah. There's more, sir. We're also receiving what appears to be a recipe for something called chocolate chip cookies, detailed instructions for a card game called poker, and a complete technical manual for maintaining hydroponic gardens. Hydroponic gardens? In the middle of a siege? That's when Admiral Elena Vasquez's voice cut through the musical chaos, clear and cheerful. Good morning, Fortress of Eternal Dominion. This is Admiral Vasquez of the Human Liberation Fleet. Beautiful day for a revolution, isn't it? General Kresh activated the main communication array. This is General Kresh 7 Alpha, commander of this installation. You will surrender immediately or face the full might of the Korthak military. Oh, that sounds exciting, Admiral Vasquez replied. But first we need to discuss terms. Terms? You're in no position to negotiate terms. Actually, we're in a great position to negotiate terms. We're about 60,000 kilometers away with a fleet of 200 ships, and you're sitting in a fortress that we've been studying for the past month. Speaking of which, thanks for leaving all those technical specifications on that ship we captured at Earth. Very helpful. There was a moment of horrified silence as the implications sank in. You've been planning this for a month? Oh, longer than that. We started planning this about 5 minutes after you guys showed up at Earth and decided to be rude. But the real preparation has been going on for a month. Yes, we've mapped every system, every weapon, every weak point. We know exactly how many people you have, what they eat for breakfast, and which of your guards has been smuggling romance novels into the barracks. Romance novels? General Kresh looked confused. Sergeant Thok 592 is quite the romantic, apparently. Very fond of stories about forbidden love between warriors from different clans. Don't worry, we won't judge. Everyone needs a hobby. I watched General Kresh's mandibles open and close in rapid succession. In the space of 30 seconds, the humans had demonstrated that they knew more about our fortress than some of our own officers did. How? He whispered. Intelligence gathering, Admiral Vasquez said pleasantly. It's amazing what people will tell you when you ask nicely. Also, your computer security is terrible. Just terrible. We've been reading your emails for weeks. Impossible. Would you like me to read some highlights? There's a particularly interesting message thread between you and Supreme Overlord Zix Prime about your concerns regarding the Fortress Cafeteria's new menu. Apparently you're not happy with the reduction in fermented grub portions. The bridge fell silent except for the continued sound of human show tunes in the background. General Kresh looked like he was about to molt from stress. What do you want? He finally asked. Unconditional surrender of all Korthak forces in this system. Immediate release of all prisoners and enslaved populations, full access to your military databases, and your personal assurance that you'll cooperate with the transitional government we're establishing. Transitional government? Oh yes, didn't we mention? We're not just here to defeat you, we're here to replace you. The Galactic Liberation Authority starts operation next week. We've got representatives from 43 different species who are very excited about this whole not being enslaved thing. 43 species? I couldn't help but interject over the communication array. But there are only 12 species in rebellion against us. Vex-Nine-One-Seven, Admiral Vasquez sounded delighted. Good to hear from you again. And you're absolutely right. There were only 12 species in active rebellion. But apparently word travels fast when you're offering freedom, democracy, and really good trade agreements. We've got species volunteering to join up from sectors you guys haven't even conquered yet. That's impossible. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. General Kresh had been listening to this exchange with growing horror. Admiral Vasquez, he said slowly. Exactly how many ships do you have out there? In this system? About 200. In the general vicinity, maybe 1,000. In total? She paused thoughtfully. You know, I'm not actually sure anymore. We've been building them faster than we can count them. It's become something of a hobby for us. A hobby? Well, sure. After you guys showed us what your military technology looked like, every human engineer, scientist and mechanic worth their salt started tinkering with improvements. Do you know what happens when you give 8 billion humans a technical challenge and unlimited motivation? No. Neither did we. It's been fascinating. We've invented 17 new types of faster-than-light drive, 32 varieties of energy weapon, and a coffee maker that can function in zero gravity while under enemy fire. Coffee maker? Priorities, General. You can't fight a galactic war without good coffee. That's when the first wave of human ships appeared on our sensors, except they didn't appear gradually, like normal ships dropping out of hyperspace. They appeared all at once, in perfect formation, as if they'd been rehearsing this maneuver for months. Which it turned out they had. Fortress Eternal Dominion. Admiral Vasquez's voice continued. You are completely surrounded. Your escape routes are blocked. Your communication arrays are compromised. Your defensive systems have been analyzed and countered. Your supply lines have been cut, and your reinforcements aren't coming. Our reinforcements aren't coming? General Kresh demanded. Afraid not. Admiral Kim is currently accepting the surrender of your backup fleet at the Nexus 7 system. Admiral Okafor is liberating the Rim colonies. And Admiral Santos is having a very productive conversation with Supreme Overlord Zix Prime about the terms of the Korthak Empire's complete and unconditional surrender. The command center erupted in chaos. Officers were shouting, alarms were blaring, and somewhere in the background the humans were now broadcasting what sounded like a cooking show. Today we'll be preparing traditional Earth lasagna, a cheerful voice explained, which is perfect for feeding large groups of newly liberated peoples. General Kresh was staring at the tactical display like it had personally insulted his ancestors. This is impossible, he kept muttering.
Hey.
You can't coordinate attacks across multiple star systems simultaneously. The logistics alone, Admiral Vasquez interrupted, We can and we did. Humans are really good at logistics. It's one of our things. Right up there with stubbornness and an unhealthy obsession with caffeinated beverages. But how are you communicating across such distances? Quantum entanglement communication arrays. We figured them out about 2 weeks after we started reverse engineering your technology. Turns out, when you're not limited by thinking something is impossible, engineering becomes a lot easier. I found myself leaning forward despite the situation. You developed instantaneous galaxy-wide communication in 2 weeks? Well, the theory took 2 weeks. Actually building and deploying the network took a month. We're getting faster at this whole impossible technologies thing. General Kresh sat down heavily in his command chair. What happens now? Now you surrender. We take control of this fortress, and we use it as a base for liberating the rest of your empire. Oh. And we convert your prison levels into a really nice cultural center. The Zephyrian refugees have some fascinating art they'd like to display. Cultural center? General, you've been thinking about this all wrong. This isn't a conquest. It's a renovation. We're not here to destroy your empire. We're here to redecorate it. Into what? Something better. A galactic federation where every species has a voice. Every world governs itself and nobody gets enslaved or conquered or forced to pay tribute to some self-proclaimed overlord. Admiral Vasquez paused, and when she spoke again, her tone was more serious. Look, I know this is hard to accept. Your entire civilization has been built around the idea that might makes right, that the strong rule the weak, that conquest is natural, but it doesn't have to be that way. There's room in this galaxy for everyone, Korthak included, but it has to be as equals. General Kresh was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he asked, and if we refuse, then we'll take the fortress anyway. But it'll be messier, and people will get hurt unnecessarily. And honestly, we'd rather not. We're here to liberate, not to kill, though I should mention that we're very, very good at killing, when we need to be. As if to emphasize her point, the tactical display suddenly showed human ships moving into attack formation with a precision that was almost artistic. Every vessel knew exactly where it needed to be, exactly when it needed to be there, and exactly what it needed to do. 45 seconds, Admiral Vasquez announced calmly. That's how long it would take us to reduce your fortress to component atoms if we really wanted to. But we don't want to. We'd much rather add it to our collection of liberated facilities. Collection? Oh yes, we've been quite busy. 17 major installations liberated in the past month. Each one is now serving as a refugee center, cultural exchange hub or training facility for the new Galactic Federation. I realized with growing amazement that she wasn't bluffing. The humans hadn't just planned a military campaign. They'd planned an entire post-war reconstruction effort. They weren't just defeating the Korthak Empire. They were replacing it with something completely new. General Kresh came to the same realization. You're serious about this Federation idea? Dead serious. I've already got the charter written, the governing structure planned, and the first interspecies council meeting scheduled for next month. The Zephyrians are providing the venue, the Altarians are handling catering, and the Proxima Collective is organizing entertainment. Entertainment? You can't have a proper founding of galactic government without entertainment. The Proxima Collective does these amazing holographic displays, very artistic. You're planning a party to celebrate overthrowing our empire? Well, when you put it like that, it sounds kind of harsh. We prefer to think of it as celebrating the birth of galactic freedom and democracy. That's when General Kresh did something I never expected. He laughed. Not the bitter laugh of defeat, but genuine amusement. You're completely insane. Thank you. Admiral Vasquez replied cheerfully. We get that a lot, so what's it going to be, General? Surrender and join the party, or force us to redecorate your fortress the hard way. General Kresh looked around the command center at his officers, at the tactical displays showing overwhelming human superiority, at me sitting in the corner taking notes for my inevitable report to Supreme Overlord Zix Prime. Then he reached over and activated the fortress-wide communication system. All Korthak personnel, he announced, his voice echoing through the installation. This is General Kresh 7 Alpha. Effective immediately, I am ordering the complete and unconditional surrender of all forces under my command. The response was immediate and surprising. Instead of protests or outrage, there was a collective sigh of relief that could be heard through the ventilation system. Furthermore, General Kresh continued, I am formally requesting political asylum from the Human Liberation Fleet in volunteer status in their Galactic Federation. Asylum.
Aldemal.
Vasquez sounded surprised. Admiral, do you have any idea what Supreme Overlord Zix Prime does to generals who lose fortresses? Ah, good point. Asylum granted. Welcome to the revolution, General. And that's how the Fortress of Eternal Dominion became the first Korthak installation to voluntarily join the human cause. To within hours, other installations were following suit. Within days, entire sectors were declaring independence from the Empire and requesting membership in the Galactic Federation. The humans had done something unprecedented in the history of warfare. They'd made surrender more attractive than victory. 3 weeks later, I found myself standing in what used to be Supreme Overlord Zix Prime's throne room, watching him sign the Treaty of Galactic Liberation. The ceremony was being broadcast across the galaxy, with commentary provided by a mixed panel of humans, former Korthak subjects, and neutral observers. And there you have it, folks, announced the human commentator, a remarkably cheerful woman named Lisa Park, the official end of the Korthak Empire, and the beginning of the Galactic Federation. It's been a wild ride, but we're finally here. Former Supreme Overlord Zix Prime, now just Citizen Zix Prime, looked remarkably peaceful for someone who'd just lost an empire. I must admit, he said during the post-signing interview, this is not how I expected my reign to end. Any regrets? Asked Lisa Park. Only that it took so long. Do you know how exhausting it is to maintain a galactic empire? The paperwork alone was killing me. And don't get me started on the budget meetings. What are your plans now? The humans have offered me a position in their diplomatic corps. Apparently, my experience with interspecies relations could be valuable in the new federation, assuming I promise to use it constructively rather than oppressively. And you're okay with that? Zix Prime considered the question seriously. Miss Park, in the past 4 months, I've watched humanity accomplish things that my empire couldn't achieve in 3,000 years. They've united dozens of species, established functional democracy across multiple star systems, and somehow managed to make everyone involved feel like they're part of something greater than themselves. If I'm going to be overthrown, I'm glad it was by people who actually know what they're doing. The interview continued, but I stopped listening. I was too busy staring out the massive windows of the former throne room, watching human ships and vessels from dozens of other species working together to establish supply lines, communication networks, and trading routes. In 4 months, humanity had dismantled a 3,000-year-old empire and replaced it with something that actually seemed to work, not through superior firepower, though they certainly had that, not through advanced technology, though they'd invented plenty. They'd done it by offering something the Korthak Empire never could. Hope. Hope that things could be different. Hope that every species deserved freedom. Hope that the galaxy could be more than just a collection of conquered worlds and enslaved populations. Vex-Nine-One-Seven. Admiral Torres appeared beside me, looking remarkably relaxed for someone who'd just reorganized galactic civilization. Admiral, I acknowledged. Congratulations on your victory. Victory? He shook his head. This isn't a victory. This is a beginning. A beginning of what? He gestured toward the window, toward the ships and stations, and the organized chaos of a galaxy learning to govern itself. Of whatever comes next. We've proven that the old way doesn't work. Now we get to find out if the new way works any better. And if it doesn't? Admiral Torres smiled, and there was something both reassuring and terrifying in that expression. Then we'll try something else. That's what humans do. We keep trying until we get it right. Even if it takes forever? Especially if it takes forever. 6 months later, I received my first assignment as a cultural liaison for the Galactic Federation, helping to establish communication protocols between humans and the Helix Nebula Collective, a species that communicated entirely through interpretive dance. The work was challenging, occasionally frustrating, and absolutely nothing like the orderly hierarchy of the old empire. It was also the most rewarding job I'd ever had. Because for the first time in my life I was working to build something instead of maintaining something, creating instead of controlling, adding to the galaxy instead of taking from it. The humans had been right about one thing. There was room in this galaxy for everyone. Even former Korthak intelligence officers with a talent for languages and a new appreciation for interpretive dance. The war that shattered the galaxy was over. The peace that rebuilt it was just beginning. And somewhere in the back of my mind I couldn't help but wonder what other impossible things humanity would accomplish now that they'd gotten warmed up.